New Toryism. Benjamin Disraeli's home policy, often associated with his New Toryism, encompassed a blend of conservative values, social reforms, and a vision for a strong nation. Here's a concise overview of his home policy and key elements. Young England. Disraeli was associated with the Young England movement, which sought to bridge social gaps and address issues related to the working class. The movement aimed to harmonise traditional values with social progress. 3 terms as Prime Minister. Disraeli served as Prime Minister 3 times, in 1868, 1874, 1880, and 1885 to 1886. His terms were marked by a mix of domestic and foreign policy actions. New Toryism. Disraeli's New Toryism emphasised a modernised and compassionate conservatism that aimed to bridge divisions in society. Constitution, empire, and social reforms. Constitution. Disraeli believed in the importance of maintaining and respecting the constitutional framework of the UK, balancing the monarchy, parliament, and individual rights. Empire. He emphasised the expansion and strength of the British Empire, securing influence globally. Social reforms. Disraeli's approach included a commitment to social reforms that aimed to improve the lives of the working class and address issues of social inequality. Legacy. Disraeli's One Nation approach sought to unite different classes within society and bridge gaps. His policies paved the way for the Conservative Party to embrace a wider range of social concerns while maintaining conservative values. Benjamin Disraeli's home policy, during his time as Prime Minister, included significant legislative measures aimed at social reform and improving living conditions for various segments of society. Second Reform Act, 1867. The Second Reform Act of 1867 expanded the right to vote in parliamentary elections to a larger portion of the urban working class. This extension of suffrage was a significant step toward democratic representation. Artisans' Dwelling Act, 1875. The Artisans' Dwelling Act of 1875 aimed to improve the living conditions of urban working-class families. It granted local authorities the power to address issues related to overcrowded and unsanitary housing in urban areas. Public Health Act, 1875. The Public Health Act of 1875 focused on public health and sanitation. It provided local authorities with the means to improve public health infrastructure, including clean water, sanitation, and proper waste disposal. The Employees and Workmen Act, 1876. This act, passed in 1876, allowed workers to form trade unions and engage in collective bargaining. It marked a step toward recognizing workers' rights and their ability to negotiate for better conditions. Peaceful protests for labourers. Labourers were allowed to engage in peaceful protests and demonstrations, giving them a platform to voice their concerns without resorting to violence. Merchant Shipping Act, 1876. The Merchant Shipping Act of 1876 aimed to enhance safety and working conditions for sailors and seamen on merchant ships. It introduced regulations for ship safety, crew accommodations, and better working conditions. Benjamin Disraeli's New Toryism aimed to blend traditional conservative values with social reforms, addressing contemporary challenges. Here's a brief explanation of the mentioned acts within the context of his New Toryism. 1. Enclosures of Common Lands Act, 1876. Aimed at balancing land rights, this act regulated the enclosure of common land, addressing issues of land ownership and access. 2. Agricultural Holding Act, 1878. This act provided protection and support to tenant farmers, addressing concerns related to land tenure and agricultural stability. Factory and Workshop Act, 1878. Focused on labour conditions, this act introduced regulations to improve workplace safety and conditions in factories and workshops. 4. Licensing Act, 1874. This act sought to regulate alcohol licensing and consumption, reflecting a balance between societal concerns and economic interests. 5. Friendly Societies Act, 1875. Addressing social welfare, this act provided a legal framework for friendly societies, which were mutual aid organisations for support in times of need. 6. Lease and Sales of Settled Estate Act, 1875. This act facilitated the management and disposition of settled estates, reflecting economic considerations and property rights. 7. Universities Act, 1878. This act reformed university governance, aligning education with changing societal needs and fostering modernization. 8. Contagious Diseases of Animals Act, 1878. This act aimed to control the spread of diseases among animals, addressing agricultural and economic concerns. 9. Public Worship Regulation Act, pertaining to religious affairs. This act aimed to regulate practices in the Church of England, reflecting Disraeli's emphasis on social cohesion. 10. Charity Commission Act, addressing charity management and accountability. This act aligned with Disraeli's interest in both social welfare and governance. Benjamin Disraeli's foreign policy was marked by a proactive and imperialistic approach, aiming to enhance British influence and protect British interests on the global stage. Empress of India. Disraeli orchestrated the assumption of the title Empress of India by Queen Victoria in 1876, emphasizing British imperial power and its connection to the Indian subcontinent. Suez Canal shares. Disraeli's government purchased shares in the Suez Canal Company in 1875, securing British control over this crucial maritime route, which New Toryism. Benjamin Disraeli's home policy, often associated with his New Toryism, encompassed a blend of